Can you run the latest DeepSeek R1 model locally on a laptop that is 4 years old and does not even have a dedicated GPU? I don't know. Let's see. This laptop right here, I bought this in 2021. It was a pretty decent laptop back then. It has Core i7, I believe 10th or 11th generation, 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of SSD. It's a thin ultrabook designed for portability and sleekness rather than raw power. Hence, it does not have a dedicated GPU. This, by the way, belongs to my wife, who does not believe in shutting it down. It remains on for weeks and weeks. I call it laptop abuse. She calls it hyper productivity. Her logic is that shutting it down and powering it on wastes precious time. So, some sluggishness in its performance is expected. And some sluggishness in my performance is also expected once my wife gets to know that I called her a laptop abuser on camera. Why am I choosing this laptop over my current laptop, which is expected to be much more suitable for this kind of task? Because I want to test my theory that you only need a decent laptop, not with the fanciest specs, for personal AI workload or AI learning. I often get queries around what laptop to buy for learning AI. And it's kind of difficult to give a definitive answer because just reading this question in the comment box does not give me any idea of what kind of workload this laptop is expected to carry and what the person can afford. So I often just reply saying, get any decent laptop. Now, what exactly is decent? Let's define this decent. In my eyes, decent is the maximum power you can buy in a laptop with the maximum money you can afford for it. It is always a balancing act between power and price. But the minimum spec you should look for is i5, 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of SSD. Do not go for 8 gigs. No, this is decent. And I believe you will get a lot of options in this configuration for around 50,000 INR or 500 USD. And if money is not a concern at all, go for the highest possible spec you can get your hands on. Do not bother about the brand, whether it's Dell, Asus, HP, Acer, whatever. Go by spec, not by brand. See, if you can afford a 80,000 laptop, buy a 80,000 laptop with the best spec possible. If you can afford a 50,000 laptop, buy the 50,000 laptop with the best spec possible. Buy what you can afford while keeping in mind the minimum spec that I just discussed. Now let's get started. Let's run the most advanced reasoning model on this laptop locally. Kar lo China apni mutti. I'm doing this for the first time on this laptop, so we might encounter some errors here and there, but what is life without some hurdles? To start with, we will go to this website called Ollama. Just search for it. Yes, ollama.com. And you need to download this on your device. I'm running a Windows device, so I will download for Windows. If you are using Mac or Linux, suit yourself. We will save it and wait for it to be downloaded. So it's done. Let's install this. Ollama makes it super easy to run open source models locally on your system. It's going to take some time for installing. And by the way, it's a command line tool. That means that you will be using a terminal to interact with it. If you prefer a better interface, we will see that as well later in the video. But let's start with Ollama first. It's still installing. Let's just wait. So now it's installed. You can see that it's running right here in the background. Now we'll go to models. And as you know, DeepSeek is the latest model. So you're seeing it right up there. Let's click DeepSeek R1. Now on this page, you will see a lot of options, right from 1.5 billion parameters to 671 billion parameters. Now 671 billion is their full model, and I believe it's pretty obvious that we can't run that on this laptop. In fact, I'm not aware of any such laptop that money can buy which can run this 671 billion parameter model locally. It says it is 404 gigs, it's not possible. But we can try other models. Now, this 1.5 billion parameter model, even a Raspberry Pi can run. So I'm pretty sure that this laptop can handle it. We will focus on this 7 billion, 8 billion, and if possible, and if I'm not afraid of my wife for potentially breaking down her laptop, we will try maybe 14 billion parameter model as well. So all these smaller models, starting from 1.5 billion to 70 billion, are all distilled versions of the 671 billion parameter model, which is the full model. And you will hear this word, this distillation word, a lot in the AI space. If you want to know what is distillation, how a smaller model is created from a much larger model, let me know in the comment box. I can make a separate video explaining this. And to get a sense of which of these distilled models are right for your machine, a general thumb rule is that the RAM in your machine should be at least 1.2 times the size of this models. So for example, if you look at 8 billion model, it is 4.9 GB, almost 5 GB. So you should have at least 1.2 times of this size, which is around 6 GB of RAM. So I'm assuming that we should be able to handle this 8 billion parameter model since we have 16 gigs of RAM. I'm not sure about the 14 billion parameter. I believe 1.2 times 9 is close to 11 GB. So ideally, this laptop should be able to handle this model as well. But you must understand that all the RAM that you have on your system is not always available for you to use. There are always a lot of background processes which keeps running, sometimes necessary and sometimes unnecessary ones, which does eat up your RAM. So even though you might have 16 GB of RAM, all 16 GB of RAM may not be available to you. So now, how do we run this 7 billion parameter model on our local machine? In fact, let's start with 8. I'm pretty sure we can handle 8 billion as well. So if we go down further, you will see the run command for each of these model types. For 8 billion, you'll have to open your command line and just copy paste this. Now Ollama run, this Ollama run command, what it does is that it checks if this model has been already downloaded or not. If not, it downloads and then runs it. If the model is already present on your system, it will not re-download it, it will just run it. It is downloading, we will just wait for it to finish. So now the model is downloaded and is running locally on this system. We can in fact now start interacting with it. Let's ask it some basic questions. This is a pretty common questions that people use to test their LLMs. And you can see that this model is now thinking. And all this is happening on this device. It's not using internet. It's happening on this device using the 8 billion parameter model that we just downloaded and we are now running on this machine. It's going on and on and on, this thinking. So much of thinking. So you see, it actually gave the right answer right here. It did find the right answer, but now it's like re-verifying. It is thinking a lot more. And all this is happening on your machine. So the answer is 8.9. It finally concluded that 8.9 is bigger than 8.11, which is the right answer. Now let's ask it one more question. Which comes first, AM or PM? This question is similar to which one came first, the hen or the egg. Let's see what it says. But what you can figure out is that this is a reasoning model. That's the difference between a normal model and a reasoning model. It thinks. It takes a lot more time to think and then give the answer. So whether it's 8 billion parameter or 7 billion parameter or 1.5 billion parameter or the 671 billion parameter, it will think. But depending on the size of the model, obviously the 671 billion parameter model will be a lot more accurate and a lot more smarter than this 8 billion parameter model. And this 8 billion parameter model will be smarter than the 1.5 billion parameter model. So it's kind of figuring out that AM comes before PM, because the name itself is like anti-meridian, which is before noon, and post-meridian, which is afternoon. So I am assuming that eventually it will say that AM comes before PM. So it finally gave it answer saying that AM comes before PM. So this is how you can run a large language model locally on your own laptop, even if it's 4 years old. We have proven that it can at least handle 8 billion parameter model. We can do a few more things here. If you type help, it will show you some more commands. If you type show info, it will tell you the information about the model that you are running. You can clear the context by just typing clear. And if you want to come out of this session, you can just say bye. And that's it. So this is how you can use Ollama to run DeepSeek R1 or in fact any other open source model locally on your own laptop. In case you don't like this terminal interface and you would prefer a more of a graphical user interface, you can either use AnythingLLM or LLM Studio. The difference is that AnythingLLM will still require a service like Ollama to run in the background, while LLM Studio is a standalone solution. Since we are already running Ollama right now, let's first check out AnythingLLM. So let's search for AnythingLLM. It's right here. We will download for the desktop, obviously for Windows, because I have a Windows laptop, and we will save it. How big is the file? 283 MB, not a lot. But while we are waiting for it to get downloaded, let's rerun the DeepSeek model from Ollama. So now it's downloaded. Let's install it now. Microsoft doesn't like AnythingLLM, it seems, but we are going to run it anyway. So it is installing. Our DeepSeek R1 model, our 8 billion model is up and running. It's gonna take some time. Well, it's taking a while for it to be installed. While it's being installed, let's also download LM Studio. So let's search for LLM Studio. Yes, the very first link, and we will download for obviously Windows. How big is this file? Let's check. Not a lot, 455 MB. Should take less than 1 minute to get downloaded. So finally, it's now installed. Let's run it. Let's click this get started. And now you will see a bunch of options here, but since we are using Ollama, we will select Ollama. And if you can see, it automatically picked up the model that Ollama is currently running, which is DeepSeek R1, 8 billion parameters. You can skip all this. We'll give our workspace a name towards AGI. Okay, so now AnythingLLM is working, is running on our laptop. And you did notice that it required a backend service, which in this case is Ollama, for it to function. It's not a standalone service. And as you can see, we have this nice chat interface. We can chat with the model now. Let's ask it the same question. Which one is bigger, 8.9 or 8.11? It's now thinking. It's quite amazing that a small model like a 8 billion parameter model is able to think, is able to reason like this. That too running locally on your own laptop. So while it's still thinking, it's still trying to figure out which one is bigger, we can see that AnythingLLM has some additional features over Ollama. You get this nice UI obviously, and then you get this option to attach a file and you can chat with the file. It could be a PDF or document. You can also use one of these agents. There are some bunch of agents that are available and you can use them for your own use if needed. Oh, I think it's done. Let's see what's the answer. Conclusion is 8.9, which is equal to 8.90, is bigger than 8.11, which is the right answer. So this is how AnythingLLM works. It has a much nicer UI compared to Ollama, which is a command line tool, and it has some additional features as well. Now let's run the LM Studio. It's already downloaded. We will now install it. Hopefully much faster than AnythingLLM. This LM Studio, by the way, will not require Ollama to run in the background. It is a standalone solution. It can stand on its own feet. Okay, it's done. Let's run it. It's in fact giving us a suggestion to download DeepSeek R1 7 billion parameter model. But we have already run the 8 billion parameter model. Let's try 14 billion. We skipped the onboarding and we jumped right in. If you come here, you will be able to search for any model that you want. Let's just copy the model name 14 billion. Let's go ahead and put it here. So you will see a lot of models with the same name or a slightly different names. The first one is by DeepSeek themselves. The others are distilled model by others, as in by the community. But we can already see an issue here. It's saying that this model is probably too large for this machine. 7.92 GB. Let's see how much RAM we still have. Okay. We are using 9.6 gigs of RAM. Let's close the unwanted things. Let's close, let's shut down Ollama. Let's also shut down AnythingLLM. I've closed everything that I could. There is a recording software that's running, which is recording this screen. I can't close that. So 8 GB or 8.1 GB of RAM is what we have settled on, which means that we don't have enough RAM left to download and run the 14 billion parameter model locally on this laptop. And since we have already seen the 8 billion parameter model, let's try the 7 billion. We know that is going to run because we were able to run the 8 billion one. Let's just see how the LM Studio runs. Let's download it. It's gonna take some time. The model has been downloaded. Now we can just click to load the model. And you can see that this too has a nice chat interface. It does not require Ollama in the background. And here as well, you get the option to attach a file to chat with. So here are a few settings that I'm not going to play with right now. And if you click here, you will see all the models that are available for you to run. Since we only have one model, we only downloaded the 7 billion parameter model for LM Studio. I'm not counting the one that was downloaded for Ollama. Here, it will only show the models that were downloaded using LM Studio. And we only have one, so you're seeing one here. If we had downloaded more than one models, you would see a list of models here, and you can choose which one to load to chat with. This, as you already saw, this is where you find the models, and this right here is where you chat with the models. Let's ask a different question this time, but still a quite famous question. How many R's in strawberry? A few months back, most models, even the most advanced models, were getting this answer wrong most of the time. They were saying 2 R's in strawberry. Let's see what DeepSeek R1 has to say. It is thinking. Let's expand this thinking, what exactly it's thinking. So you can see how beautifully, even though it's a very simple question for humans, it's not a very simple question for the large language models because they're not very good at counting. But it's able to break down our question in such a way that ideally it should be able to find the number of R's. It's basically breaking down strawberry into its each character and then seeing and then checking if there is a R there or not. And it eventually got the answer wrong. After so much of thinking, it still got the answer wrong. Probably if we had used a bigger model, it would have got the answer right. And it's also telling me how it got the answer wrong. But the idea is that it tried to think. So now you also saw how you can run the DeepSeek R1 locally on your machine on this 4-year piece of junk. Okay, not piece of junk. This 4-year-old laptop locally using LM Studio. Hence proved if you have the will, there is a way to run AI workloads locally on any decent laptop. It does not have to be the fanciest laptop in the market. Now between these three options, that is Ollama, AnythingLLM and LM Studio, I will recommend that you always highlight Ollama more. So there is this weird sense of achievement people in tech field get when they can get something done using a terminal rather than a GUI. They will argue that Ollama is lighter, which essentially is true. But the irony is that they argue about Ollama being lighter while keeping at least 20 Google Chrome tabs open in the background and 5 spreadsheets with each of them with a million rows open in the background, which they have not touched in the last 2 weeks. Ollama will get you more brownie points in the tech community. So if it's an interview or your resume, make sure that you highlight Ollama more than the LM Studio or AnythingLLM. If you found this video helpful, please make sure you like and subscribe, and do share with somebody who is still undecided what laptop to buy. or does not know how to run AI models locally. I hope you like this video. I will see you in the next one.